What if I told you that some tiny, mostly unnoticeable things you do every time you ride could possibly slowly kill the most vital part of your motorcycle? Yeah, we're talking about the engine. It's the powerhouse, the soul of your ride, and protecting it is key to enjoying countless miles on the road, which is why we're exposing 13 habits to avoid that will save your motorcycle engine. Well, we all know it's not usually intentional. Often it's just things we didn't know were harmful or habits we picked up over time. But the good news is that becoming aware of these pitfalls is the first step to avoiding them. Consider it saving yourself cash, trouble, and possible heartache down the line. To start off at number 1, giving it the beans when it's stone cold. Okay, we get it. That exhaust note sounds awesome. But revving your engine hard right after startup, especially on a cold morning, is like forcing someone to sprint a marathon the second they wake up. When the engine is cold, the oil is thick, like honey. It hasn't had a chance to circulate properly and coat all those crucial moving parts. Blasting the throttle sends metal grinding against metal with very little protection. That means unnecessary wear on pistons, cylinders, bearings, and everything else important. Related to that cold start issue is another common mistake. Number 2, skipping the warm-up ride altogether. This is related to number 1, but slightly different. Some people might not rev it hard, but they just start it and immediately ride off like normal, maybe even hitting the highway right away. While idling excessively isn't great either, more on that maybe another time, just jumping straight into demanding riding conditions isn't ideal. Different metal parts in your engine expand at different rates as they heat up. A gentle warm-up period allows everything to reach its optimal operating temperature and size more evenly. It also ensures the oil is fully circulated and doing its job. Rushing this process can put uneven stress on components. Now, a crucial part of that warm-up process, and indeed overall engine health, involves what's flowing inside. Number 3. Using the wrong engine oil. Engine oil isn't just oil. It's a complex blend of base oils and additives designed for specific jobs: lubricating, cooling, cleaning, and protecting against corrosion. Your bike's manufacturer specifies the exact type and viscosity, like 10W40 or 20W50, for a reason. Using oil that's too thin might not provide enough protection at high temperatures. Oil that's too thick might struggle to flow when cold, leading back to that cold start wear we talked about earlier. Using car oil in a bike with a wet clutch, where the clutch shares engine oil, can cause clutch slippage because car oils often contain friction modifiers. Using the right type of oil is critical, but just as important is ensuring that the oil isn't worn out. Number 4, stretching oil change intervals way too far. Now, I know we all get busy, but pushing your oil changes way past the manufacturer's recommendation is a recipe for trouble. Over time, oil breaks down. It gets contaminated with combustion byproducts, metal particles, and dirt. Its lubricating properties diminish, and it can turn into thick sludge. The gunk restricts oil flow, increases friction and heat, and accelerates engine wear dramatically. Think of it like trying to run on dirty, contaminated blood. It just doesn't work well. While keeping the inside lubricated is key, we also need to think about what the engine is breathing in. Number 5, completely ignoring the air filter. We all know air filters are important because your engine must inhale clean air, the same as you do. The filter's purpose is to catch dust, dirt, insects, and other contaminants before they're sucked into the engine. A clogged filter impairs airflow, making the engine work even harder. This can create a rich fuel mixture, excess fuel, or insufficient air, which results in poor performance, poor fuel mileage, and may even foul spark plugs. Even worse, if the filter is damaged or not sealing correctly, abrasive dirt particles are sucked directly into the cylinders, scoring the walls and prematurely wearing out piston rings. Sandpaper in your engine is not a good thing. As critical as clean air is, so is keeping everything at the right temperature, particularly if your bike is liquid-cooled. Now, just as important as clean air is, keeping things at the right temperature, especially if your bike is liquid-cooled. That brings us to number 6, neglecting the coolant for liquid-cooled bikes. If your bike is liquid-cooled, the coolant is its lifeline against overheating. It does more than just transfer heat. It also contains anti-corrosion inhibitors that protect the inside of your engine and radiator. Letting the coolant level drop too low is an obvious path to overheating, which can cause catastrophic damage like warped cylinder heads or blown head gaskets. But even if the level looks okay, old coolant loses its protective properties. This can lead to corrosion building up inside the cooling passages, restricting flow, and eventually causing, you guessed it, overheating. Most people know the engine takes in air through the air filter, but did you know your motorcycle engine also breathes through its crankcase ventilation system? This is a crucial but often overlooked part of engine health. Now here's the twist. Inside your engine, every time a piston goes up and down, a small amount of combustion gases, called blow-by, slips past the piston rings and ends up in the crankcase. These gases are hot, acidic, and full of moisture. If they're not vented properly, they'll contaminate your oil, increase pressure in the crankcase, and cause premature wear or even oil seal failure. Okay, we've covered some key maintenance points. Now let's shift gears and talk about riding habits, starting with one that really strains the engine. Number 7, lugging the engine. Lugging happens when you're riding at too low an RPM for the gear you're in, especially under load like going uphill or accelerating. The engine sounds like it's struggling, maybe vibrating more than usual. You might think you're saving fuel, but you're actually putting immense stress on the engine's bottom end, the crankshaft, connecting rods and bearings. Each power stroke becomes a heavy hammering blow instead of a smooth push. It's like trying to pedal a bicycle up a steep hill in top gear. Incredibly hard work and stressful on the components and your knees. Stressing the engine at low RPMs is bad, but going to the other extreme isn't great either. Number 8, constantly bouncing off the rev limiter. On the opposite end of the spectrum from lugging is constantly revving the engine to its absolute limit. While modern engines have rev limiters to prevent immediate self-destruction, living in the red line puts maximum stress and heat on everything. Piston speeds are incredibly high. Valves are opening and closing at frantic rates, risking valve float where they don't close properly, and oil is working overtime to keep things cool and lubricated. Now, occasional bursts are usually fine. That's what the power band is for. But making a habit of screaming the engine everywhere you go will shorten its life significantly. Okay, quick check. How many of these bad habits are you guilty of so far? Drop your number in the comments. Pushing the engine hard generates heat and stress, and the type of fuel you use plays a role in how well it usually handles that. So, this brings us to number 9, using the wrong octane fuel when higher is required. This applies mainly to bikes designed for higher octane fuel. Premium. Octane rating measures a fuel's resistance to detonation, also known as knocking or pinging. High compression or performance engines often require higher octane fuel to prevent the fuel-air mixture from igniting prematurely under pressure before the spark plug fires. This premature ignition causes a damaging shock wave inside the cylinder. If your bike requires premium and you consistently feed it regular, you risk engine knock, which can lead to piston damage, poor performance, and overheating over time. Now, choosing the right octane is one thing, but the freshness of that fuel matters as well, especially if your bike sits for a while. Number 10, letting fuel go stale in the tank. Gasoline doesn't last forever, especially modern fuels containing ethanol. Over weeks and months, it can degrade. Lighter components evaporate, leaving behind thicker, gummy varnish-like residues. Ethanol can also absorb moisture from the air, leading to water contamination. This stale fuel and its deposits can clog tiny passages in fuel injectors or carburetor jets, leading to hard starting, rough running, and poor performance. Water in the fuel can also cause corrosion inside the tank and fuel system. Fuel going bad is one specific problem, but a broader habit to avoid is simply not paying attention to any potential issue your bike might be signaling. Number 11. Ignoring weird noises or leaks. Your motorcycle talks to you through its sounds, vibrations, and smells. New unusual noises, ticking, knocking, grinding, or any sign of leaking fluids, oil, coolant, or brake fluid are often early warning signs of a developing problem. Ignoring a small oil leak could lead to running the engine low on oil. Ignoring a strange ticking sound could be a valve adjustment issue that gets progressively worse. Pretending these things aren't happening rarely makes them go away. Usually, it just allows a minor issue to escalate into a major expensive repair. Being attentive to engine noises and leaks is crucial. Now, let's look at a component outside the engine that significantly impacts its workload. Number 12. Seriously neglecting chain maintenance. I know this might sound strange and you might say, the chain isn't part of the engine. True, but its condition directly affects the engine's workload. A poorly maintained chain, one that's dirty, dry, or improperly adjusted, too tight or too loose, creates significant drag and friction. This forces the engine to work harder to deliver power to the rear wheel. A chain that's too tight puts extra strain on the countershaft bearing right where the chain leaves the engine transmission. A severely neglected chain can also develop tight spots or kinks, leading to jerky power delivery, which isn't smooth sailing for the engine internals either. Keeping your chain maintained is important for when you're riding regularly, but what about when the bike has to sit for a long time? This brings us to our final habit to avoid. Number 13. Improper long-term storage. Similar to letting fuel go stale, but encompassing more than just the fuel system. If your bike sits for an extended period, like over winter without proper preparation, several things can happen that harm the engine indirectly or directly. We mentioned stale fuel clogging things up, but batteries can discharge and sulfate, potentially needing replacement. But also, internal engine parts can be susceptible to corrosion from moisture in the air, especially as the protective oil film drains away over time. Piston rings can even sometimes get slightly stuck to the cylinder walls. So there you have it, 13 common habits that might be silently hurting your motorcycle's engine. What do you think? Did we miss any crucial habits? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, make sure to check out our previous video as well, and consider subscribing for more motorcycle tips and content. I'll see you in the next one.